too many of us are not living our dreams because we're living our fears. Okay, that quote from Les Brown, it really hits hard, doesn't it?
It really does. It gets right to the heart of something I think a lot of people grapple with.
Absolutely. And it perfectly sets the stage for our deep dive today. We're tackling, that big question, how do you actually bridge the gap? That space between where you are now and where you really truly want to be.
It's often an intimidating gap,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So for this journey, we've pulled together some fascinating sources. We're looking at ancient moral teachings right alongside modern psychology and even a guide for young adventurers. Quite a mix.
It is, but what's fascinating is how they connect. Our mission here really is to pull out the practical stuff, the actionable wisdom from all these different places.
Like a blueprint.
Exactly, a kind of blueprint for authentic living, something that can help you, the listener, move step by step from being driven by fear to living with real purpose. And you'll see, I think, how these ideas that seem so different actually point towards a single, powerful understanding of what it means to really live.
Okay, let's start building that blueprint then. The sources seem to agree. Before you chase dreams, you need a solid foundation.
Bedrock.
And they point to things like, ancient moral teachings, specifically mentioning principles like those in the Ten Commandments as key for character. Now, even if you're not religious, how does that work? How do these principles become an inner compass? Or, I love this phrase, superhero rules.
Right, superhero rules, it's a great way to put it. Look, what these core principles like respect, honesty, community, integrity, what they do is provide clarity. Think about it. When you don't have that clear inner compass, every little decision can feel heavy, weighted with anxiety. Am I doing the right thing? What if this goes wrong?
Yeah, analysis paralysis.
Totally. But having this kind of baseline definition, your own superhero rules, it transforms decision-making. It moves you, as the sources say, from anxious speculation into principled action. It just simplifies things. These rules: be kind, tell the truth, don't take stuff that isn't yours. They give you a kind of certainty. It frees up your energy for everything else.
That makes sense. Less guesswork, more conviction.
Precisely.
Okay, so that inner compass idea leads us somewhere really interesting. Robert Greene's observation, quoting Schopenhauer, most men are so thoroughly subjective that nothing really interests them but themselves.
Now, that sounds pretty cynical, doesn't it?
It definitely lands that way at first listen. It sounds stark.
Yeah. So how is understanding that part of human nature crucial for living authentically and actually getting anywhere with your dreams?
Okay, so the key insight here isn't about becoming cynical yourself or, manipulative. It's about effectiveness. It really is. When you accept, realistically, that most people are primarily motivated by their own self-interest, not always negatively just, that's their primary lens. Their default setting, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Their default setting. When you get that, you can start to, craft your dreams and your goals in ways that naturally align with what other people need or want. The sources give good examples. The entrepreneur finds where their passion meets a real market need. They're not just doing their thing in a vacuum.
Okay.
Or think about a parent guiding a child. Instead of just laying down rules, they show how good choices lead to better outcomes for the child. They connect it to the child's own world.
So you're meeting them where they are, understanding their perspective first.
Exactly. But, and this is crucial,
Okay.
the sources immediately balance this. They add that powerful idea. Everybody may not be good, but there is some good in everybody.
Okay. So it's not just self-interest.
Not at all. It's a dual awareness. You can appeal to people's better angels, their capacity for good, for community, for higher values, while also being realistic about those primary self-focused motivations. It's about seeing the whole person, the whole picture, not being idealistic, not being cynical, just effective and authentic in how you connect.
Seeing the complexity. I like that. Now let's shift gears a bit. This next one might sound a little heavy at first, but the deep dive frames it as liberating. Marceline Cox. Life begins when a person realizes how soon it will end.
That's a profound one.
It is. So what does that realization really mean for living your dreams instead of just, having them on a wish list somewhere?
It's utterly transformative.
Yeah.
Truly. It's not about being morbid. It's about activating this powerful sense of urgency. Suddenly, things shift. Fears that seemed huge, they start to shrink. They become less like walls and more like, the sources say temporary discomforts, things you can actually navigate.
Okay, less paralyzing.
Right. And dreams, they stop being these vague someday things. They become urgent calls to action. Now, today. Think of the parent who realizes how fast time flies and suddenly finds the courage to be more present, to put the phone down.
Or the writer you mentioned.
Exactly. The writer who finally gets that later might not come, so they sit down and write. And right now, that urgency changes everything.
And this urgency, does it connect to goals? Norman Vincent Peale's point.
Directly. Peale said all successful people have a goal. When time feels precious, you naturally become more intentional. You have to decide where to put your energy. And goals, seen this way, aren't restrictive. They're actually expressions of our values made concrete in time. They turn those fuzzy desires into specific, actionable steps.
Right. They give the urgency direction.
Precisely. It's the engine that converts the paralysis of fear into the propulsion of dreams. All because you know the clock is ticking.
That's a really powerful frame. Which leads us to a maybe surprising story. Ulysses S. Grant.
Ah, yes.
Tough general, right? Future president. Yet his greatest joy was apparently wrestling on the floor with his young son, Jesse. What does that tell us about authentic living?
It's such a wonderful illustration. It shows that authentic living isn't about sticking to one rigid persona. I am the general or I am the president. It's about being fully present, genuinely there, wherever you are. Grant brought his whole self, his full self, to the battlefield and to the living room floor.
He wasn't compartmentalizing?
Exactly. He wasn't splitting himself into serious Grant and playful Grant. He was just engaged fully in that moment.
And how does that connect to the advice to feel more? That seems linked.
It connects deeply. Fear so often comes from trying to control everything, right? Trying to numb ourselves to uncertainty, to potential pain or failure.
Definitely.
But pursuing dreams requires the opposite. It requires openness, a willingness to experience the whole spectrum. And when you're fully present, wrestling with your kids, mindfully cooking dinner, deeply focused on your work in that presence, the gap between fear and dreams often just dissolves.
Because you're just doing it.
You're just in it. And feeling more means embracing that, embracing emotional authenticity, not shielding yourself, but allowing yourself to really experience life, the ups and the downs, knowing that that is where the living happens.
Being fully you, wherever you are. Okay, so this feels like it leads naturally to the next point, which is maybe less glamorous, but feels critical.
The daily grind.
Sort of. The idea that authentic living isn't about huge leaps, but about the accumulation of daily choices and weekly rhythms. And the sources are blunt. There are no quick fixes. Consistency is the only thing that works. The magic is in the work you are trying to avoid. Oof, that's tough, right?
It is tough. It's the hard truth nobody really wants to hear, but it's true.
So what does that mean, practically, that work you're trying to avoid?
It means that the very things we resist, the things that feel hard or uncomfortable, often hold the key to our growth. They contain the experiences that actually transform us. That difficult conversation you keep putting off, tackling it builds courage and might actually improve the relationship.
Right.
That daily writing practice you find excuses for, doing it consistently is what develops your voice, builds the habit, eventually leads to the finished piece. The magic isn't in dodging the work, it's in engaging with it persistently, realizing that the work itself, if it's aligned with your values, becomes satisfying. It builds momentum.
And they use that cooking example from Michael Pollan.
Yeah, cooking from scratch seems mundane, maybe, but it's a brilliant example of a daily practice. It builds competence, it creates connection with food, maybe with family, it establishes a rhythm, and, as Pollan notes, it improves overall well-being. Not overnight, but through consistent, intentional action.
It's a small thing that adds up.
It's a perfect microcosm, yeah.
And I found those practical questions really useful, too. What's this week's priority? What will I do to feel good? How do those simple questions help?
They look simple, but they're powerful alignment tools. What's the priority? Forces you to be intentional, to connect your big dreams to concrete weekly actions, pulls you out of just reacting.
Makes it real.
Right. And what will I do to feel good is just as vital. It ensures you're taking care of yourself, acknowledging that this isn't just about striving and pushing, it's about nourishment too. Together, they create this really practical weekly rhythm for turning intentions into consistent action, building that momentum away from fear towards purpose.
Okay, which brings us to the final piece of the blueprint, this really powerful metaphor. The ship. A ship in port is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. Wow, how does that capture the essence of what we've been talking about?
It sums it all up beautifully, doesn't it? Fear. Fear wants to keep us in port, safe, comfortable, avoiding the unknown dangers of the sea.
Staying where it's predictable.
Exactly. But our dreams, our purpose, our authentic selves, they call us out to the open water, to exploration, to growth, well, to living fully. But importantly, this isn't about being reckless. It's not about just sailing out blindly.
Right, because you've done the prep work.
You've done the prep work. That's the whole point of the deep dive. You've built your character foundation. You understand human nature. You grasp the urgency. You've practiced presence. You've committed to the consistent work. You're not leaving port unprepared. You've built a seaworthy vessel. You've learned navigation. Now you're finally ready to use yourself, as the sources say, for what you were designed to do.
It's the culmination, enabling that purposeful journey. So, wrapping this all up for you, our listener, what this deep dive really shows is that moving from fear to dreams isn't like flipping a switch.
No, definitely not linear.
Right. It's more like an ongoing integration. It's about holding all these different pieces at the same time. Your values, understanding others, that sense of urgency, being present, doing the consistent work.
Yeah, and I think the real breakthrough comes when you stop seeing these things as opposites you have to choose between. Like, should I be good or effective? Should I dream big or stay grounded?
Serve others or pursue my own vision.
Exactly those things. Authentic living, the most fulfilling life, seems to emerge when you integrate them all. When you find that place where your deepest values, what you're genuinely good at, and what the world actually needs, where they all intersect.
That's the sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot. That's where fear really starts to recede and purpose takes the helm.
So if the difference between living our dreams and living our fears really boils down to the difference between seeking safety and seeking purpose, here's the final thought for you to consider. What one small, maybe slightly uncomfortable, but courageous step will you take this week? What step will help you bravely set sail, even just a little way, from the safe harbor of fear and embrace the vast, purposeful ocean of your dreams?